Hello there, in this video we're going to build a phone number component for our design system, so let's go. Okay, welcome back to the file. So let's scroll all the way down and let's click on our last page. Let's click on the plus and let's give this page a new name. Okay, let's go back up here and let's borrow one of these layouts. Let's just copy this one for now for tabs. Let's go back to phone number, let's paste that in. Let's just remove what we don't need. Okay, that should be fine. Let's update the page with new headings and description. Okay, there we go. So we're starting with a fresh page and the component is going to be called phone number. So I'll just read the sentence that I put here about this component. So it allows users to select the country and enter a valid phone number in the correct international format. So I think that's clear. Let's go to the left and let's just draw out a testing frame. Okay, that's good. Let's go back to our research file. And let's go into the wireframes and let's grab a copy of what we have. So let's just unlock these layers just here. So let's just copy this out for now and let's just lock the layers again. Let's go back into the UI kit. Let's just paste that in here onto the testing frame and let's have a look at what we've got. So like some of the other components, we have our label. We have a interactive part over here where you can click on a drop down to select a different country, and to the right you have an area where you can enter the telephone number. Similar to some of our other components, let's just bring in our text field component, which is this one here. Now this is probably going to share some similarities with the text field component. We would probably want the flexibility of the label at the top. It's always useful to have the description in case you need to give a little bit more context. We will need the input area here and it's going to need some customization to allow a country toggle on the left hand side and then the ability to add the number on the right hand side. So I think it'd be good to include the feedback field as well. Okay, so to start out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to detach this instance, the text field, and what I'm going to do is let's just break it down. So we need to go inside of the input, and if we have a look at what's inside of the input currently, we just have the text layer at the moment. So we need to be able to add some additional information. So because I've detached this, we can start to play around with it. Let's go into the input level and potentially let's add in another frame. I want to add something in just here. I'm just going to label it as container. And what I'll do is I'll just apply an auto layout on that for now. And I'll just set some basic spacing variables for now. Okay, what I'll do is let me just copy this text. Let me go into the container, let me paste it. Let's set this to hug. Let me just type, just for now, let's just type UK. Now let's just change that color from neutral 80 to neutral 600. And let's just go back into the container. And let's just set, let's set the container, instead of fill, let's set it to hug. Now the next thing I want is I need some kind of drop down, so the ability to select different countries. So we go into my assets, let's type icon slot, and let's just drag that in and put that next to it for now. Okay, so what do we have? Spacing wise, we've got 4 pixels between, that should be fine. Now I need some separation between the UK and the drop down. So what I think I'll do is I'll go in and let me just click F on the keyboard for frame. Let's just draw out a vertical line and let's just make it 1 pixel in width. Yeah, we're going to set the height to fill. And let me just apply any color just for now, just to get it in there. Okay, that's great. Let's just move it to the right. Let's go back into the color. Let's just do neutral 600 for now, and that should hopefully give us a little bit more separation. I kind of wonder whether I should adjust the size of this icon as well. Let me go to the container level and just make sure everything is aligned. Yeah, so that's a little bit better. Okay, I'll set the icon slot now to small, and if we change our mind later and we need to make that icon slightly bigger, we can, because we've got the flexibility of the different sizes on the icon slot. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for the country drop down, or the country toggle. So we have the text, and actually I can rename that, Command R. I'll just rename that to country just for the moment. And then we've got the icon slot, and then we've got a line just there. So I'll mark that as line for now. You could probably call it separator, or you could call it line. Whatever we use, we'll try and make it consistent. Okay, so let's just drag this over a little bit. Now, I think when we dragged out the text field, we used the placeholder state. So let me just go in here again. Let's type text field. Let's grab an instance of that out. Yeah, so the text is slightly grayer, and let's just drag that down there. Let's keep this in some kind of order. So this is what we're working on right here, and this is the text field. Let me just go into the text field page. Let's unlock that, and let's steal some of the states. So let's just copy those, Command C, go all the way back, press Command V, and let's just drag that down slightly, and let's make this frame slightly bigger as well. So we've copied these out. These are from the text field. We've got placeholder enabled, hovered, focus, disabled, error, success, read only. I don't need read only. I'm going to get rid of that. I think the rest of the states we could use. So what I want to do, let's just go through each of these states. I'm going to click on what we've created so far, and I'm going to option, click and drag to bring it down. So for enabled, I think the only difference is the text, and there it is. So that changes to neutral 600, so that's what this would be. Let's just update that, neutral 600. Let's bring this down to the next state, so hovered. Now let's option, click, drag, just to copy that one out. So hovered is a border, that's Sapphire 300, 2 pixels. So let's do that. Okay, that's the hovered state done. Let's go to the next state, focused. Let's just change that. Let's option, click and drag, bring that down. And focus is going to be 2 pixels, neutral 900. So let's add that in. Okay, let's bring that down. So we've got disabled. So option, click and drag, bring that down. Swap that to disabled. So let's have a look. So the fill is going to be neutral 50. And the text is going to be neutral 100. And let's do the same to these as well. Okay, there we go. Let's move this down. Let's go to our error state. And now what I'll do is I'll just option click and drag, but I'll do it from enabled. And let's go in here. So the background is going to be error 50. So let's do that, error 50, and the stroke is 1 pixel and it's error 300. Okay, that should be good, although I do need to change the feedback message. Let's go in here, so it's error 400. Yep, so that's fine. Let's option, click, drag, bring that down, and let's go to success. So the background is success 50. There we go, and the stroke is going to be success 300. And let's go to the feedback message. That's going to be success 400. Okay, so that's all the states that we're going to need, but these states really only apply to the overall component, so the phone number component, the entire input. What it doesn't apply to is the UK and the drop-down. So really, this part of the component should have its own unique states for country information. So you'll be able to click the drop down, get a set of options and select them, which then changes the overall component. So there is some interactivity here, and I think it would be important to make sure this has its own unique states. Let's just grab this container as an example. Let me grab these states as well. Let's option, click and drag them. Okay, so let's just go through and work out what we're going to need in terms of states. Okay, so what I want to do, let me just quickly go back through to, let's say, sort selector. Now, this is kind of similar in some ways to the sort selector. So I'm going to take these states, let me just lock these. Let's go back to the phone number page. Let me just delete those and Command V and paste those in. So I think the states we're going to need for this country drop-down are enabled, hovered, focused, activated, and disabled. I think those are the states we're going to need. Let's just start by breaking down the layers and let's just see what we have. Okay, so I think we need to amend this slightly. So let's call this Country Dropdown. We're going to have the text, we're going to have the icon, and then we're going to have the line. Okay, so let's just start by, let's just put these inside a container, group these two together. So the country label and then the icon slot. And then what we want to do is I actually want to keep the line outside of it. Okay, let's go with this layer structure for now. So let me just option click and drag. Let's bring it down. I'm going to add a stroke. Now let me just add that for now. Let me go to hovered. It's, let's have a look, Sapphire 300. So let's go back into here. Sapphire 300. I think it was just 1 pixel, or is it 2? Let's see. And because this is inside a component, it could be quite tight in terms of spacing. So let's just go in there for now. Let's just round the corners. I think they were 8 pixels before. Yep, 8 pixels. And let's just add a tiny bit more spacing. Just increase that to 4. Okay, and what we'll do is I just want to make sure these remain consistent. So let me just make sure that's got 4 as well. So the overall width will be the same. Okay, I don't want the line as part of that. I want it outside. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's keep the country in the icon slot wrapped inside a container. I'm going to move the line outside it, and actually what I want to do is take off the stroke from the country drop down, and I want to apply the stroke to here, Sapphire 300, 8 pixels. So I'm applying it to the container because it doesn't really apply to the separator that we have here. I just want it to apply to this country drop down that we have here. Okay, let's just adjust the spacing. So I'm going to zero out the left and right padding. Okay, and I see the reason why it's cutting off this line is because on the appearance I've rounded the corners, so let's zero those out. That fixes that issue. I'm going to option click and bring it up to the enabled state because I've made so many changes, and I'm going to drop off the stroke. Let's delete that. Okay, so we now have our enabled, and I think we now have our hovered state. This structure will hopefully be okay now. So we've got country drop down, we've got a container, and that container contains the label, the icon slot. So the container itself is going to visualize whether it's enabled, hovered, activated, and so on. And then we've got a line, a separator just outside, and that will separate it from the text, which is over here. Okay, let's move on to the focus state. So let's take this, let's option click and drag, and let's bring it down to focused. Let's go in here and let's just have a look. What's our focus state? So focused is, I think it's neutral 900. Yep, so it's neutral 900, and that's 2 pixels. So let's go in here. I guess we can do 2 neutral 900. There we go. Okay, let me go back up to, let's see, let's take hovered, let's option click and drag, and let's go to our next state, which is activated. So let's just go ahead and let's bring in a button, and let's just drag that in. Let's go to the states and let's go to activated. So that is going to be Sapphire 500. So let's go in there, let's update that, Sapphire 500. We can just move that over there. Okay, let's take a copy of this and option click and drag and bring that down to disabled. Okay, so for disabled, let's follow the text field again. So the actual text itself is neutral 100. Let's go in here, neutral 100. I think we use the same for all the different elements actually. So let me just click on the chevron. Yeah, that's neutral 100, and the line. Yeah, that's also neutral 100. So let's do the same here. And I think what we'll do is we'll take off the stroke, but what we'll do is we'll use the fill here, which is neutral 50. Okay, there we go. So that can be the disabled state. Let me just move that button down and out of the way. Okay, so we've done all the states here for our country drop down. Let's go in here and let's select each of these elements, and let's create multiple components and combine as variants. So country drop down is the name. I'm just going to put an underscore at the beginning. Let's go in here and rename this property to states, and I'm probably going to have to go back through as everything's labeled as default. Okay, let's quickly rename these so they have the correct states. Okay, so those have been renamed. I'm going to press Shift A to add an auto layout. I'm just going to go in and double check the spacing variables. Okay, I think that should be fine for now. Okay, so let's move this to the page to begin with. So let's take this, let's drag it into here. Okay, I'm just going to paste in a header and some text. So let me just put that to pending, and let's rename that to Country Dropdown. Okay, let's paste in a sentence here for the Country Dropdown. Okay, so Country Dropdown displays the selected country and allows users to open a dropdown to choose a different country code. I think that is nice and clear. Okay, so we've got the country dropdown. I'm just going to tighten up the spacing for a moment. Okay, there we go, that's better. Right, let's go back to our component that we have over here. So we've got all the different states. Let me just get rid of that button. So we've got our different states. We now need to embed inside the input our country dropdown. So let me just let's just take a copy of this. Let's go to the input. I'm going to Command V, paste that in. Just going to lift it up, put it so it's over here. Let's see what we have. I want to set it to hug. I also want to get rid of this container, which contains the old version. Okay, I think that's good. I'm just going to go through the other states and replace the country dropdown. Okay, so the country dropdown's been replaced in each of these components. Okay, that's it for part 1 of the video. Part 2 will be next week. So like and subscribe, add some comments, all those things, and I will see you in the next video.